We were discussing the Netflix Warner Bros. Deal over text, and you were going ham. You were texting me, like a couple of texts every minute, right? And I would jab back and you would go next, and we kept going on and on. I want to say for about 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. And I could tell that we were on
the phone.
We should have just got on the phone. But you were getting ready for something because you texted me, okay, I need to go and stop texting you. One last practice before my 3rd degree black belt test tomorrow.
Yeah, so I'm in Taekwondo, been doing it for almost 20 years. And finally, after 15 plus years, testing for my 3rd degree. So yeah, I just got that this last weekend. That was fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was like literally head to toe dripping sweat because I'm just making sure, at 41 years old, I'm living up to the standard. Thank you. So I passed, but, it's in the midst of when I got my 2nd degree black belt, I wasn't married. I had no kids. Now I have 5 kids. I was not a creator yet. I was not on YouTube. That's kind of crazy to think about. I wonder if it was actually pretty close. Huh. And I still, maybe I had moved out by then. I think I was moved out by then. So yeah, completely different part of my life. And I love Taekwondo though. And I'm doing it now with my kids. I'm coaching the class. So it's kind of a nice full circle moment to get back into it. And I think that it's very healthy for you.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that I could be as committed to physical practice as that. Yeah, I will come to it eventually. But I bring it up because, early on when we were making Vlogging Academy, one of our initial metaphors, and maybe this is inappropriate of me to push for this as a metaphor, but was Taekwondo, because you were getting back into it. And I remember you talking about your philosophy as someone who teaches your classes and who is assisting other people and who's been at it for a very long time, in the sense that Taekwondo is a practice just as creating is. And I wonder, I don't know, again, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but like right now in your YouTube career, would you have a belt? And like, would there be a color belt that you are? But then also, what are the other correlations between being someone who vlogs daily and who practices Taekwondo?
Well, it's weird to say I'm a black belt as a YouTuber. I think I've earned that after all these years.
I think so too. There are very few.
I think I've done more YouTubing, creating content, and just, being a creator in the creator economy than I have Taekwondo. So, that's just for fun. But I always talk about how Taekwondo has correlations to YouTube in terms of being a creator versus like a martial arts practitioner, because the practices I put into place to be a creator, especially at the beginning, are what I learned from being in Taekwondo and doing martial arts. So one of the things about being a Taekwondo practitioner is you do a lot of kicks. It's more rare than other forms of martial arts because they do full body stuff, a lot of punching, takedowns, throws, wrestling. But in Taekwondo, it's all kicks. So to do really good kicks, when maybe you're not using your legs in that way in the rest of your life, you have to just practice a lot. You have to do a lot of repetition and just do it over and over. Even me preparing for my 3rd degree black belt, I was just doing hundreds of kicks, of the basic kicks. The ones that I've already learned as a white belt, I'm doing as a black belt, getting ready for my 3rd degree black belt test. And why that's important for a creator, and why I always use Taekwondo as an example. When you first get started in Taekwondo, I think this is with all martial arts, you don't just sit on the sideline and watch class for even a day or weeks or months or a year and just kind of learn from listening and watching. You learn from doing, and you do the most basic, simple stuff first, and then you do it hundreds, if not thousands of times, and then you move on to something a little bit more advanced, and then a little bit more advanced. And then in 6 months, you could, depending on your school, you could already be maybe a yellow belt or maybe some cases like a low green belt. Point being, you start from day one. Most people, when they start becoming a creator, they try to start like 6 or 12 months in after they've read every book, taken every course, and learned from, some kind of coach. That's a problem because there's so many basic things you have to do, and you have to do it when you're crappy. And so that's why I always tell people, it's like, hey, I wouldn't make one of my Taekwondo students sit there for 6 months as they're paying money, as they're participating, just sit there and watch us. I want you to start kicking right away. So even if you're bad at it, as a creator, creating your first video, you should be creating content even if it's bad, even if it's objectively bad, not just because you're like, you know, you've got high standards for yourself. Maybe you got self-esteem issues. If it's legit bad, you need to get all those out of the way so you know what to do next. And that's the way all creators that are successful have been the best ones. They just jump in there and do it, regardless if they even have a coach. Now, with Taekwondo, it's funny, you probably need a coach for them to teach you those things. As a creator, though, especially in this era, you don't need as much coaching, because ultimately the secret to YouTube, especially, but also this era of vlogging that has come back, you just need to be yourself. And you need to translate that to recording it and then uploading it. And of course, the packaging, and that's where the strategy that you can learn from me, from my course, come into play. But it's just being comfortable on camera the way you'd be comfortable talking to your best friend. But to get that comfortable on camera, like you're talking to your best friend, you have to start recording as a white belt of a creator, journey.
If you're looking for a little bit of coaching to push us beyond the basics of what you're talking about, Benji, you can go to vloggingacademy.com. And one of the core principles at Vlogging Academy is that we get you vlogging from the very absolute beginning. In fact, the very first video you encounter, you will see that we ask you to create a video, which might seem scary, but as you just heard, Benji's philosophy when teaching is that you get kicking right away. We think it's the same with vlogging. If you're looking for the easiest way to get started on YouTube during the biggest opportunity ever, you can check it out at vloggingacademy.com, and you'll get a few kicks in, hopefully, as soon as you get started. Our thanks to the students of Vlogging Academy who make this show possible. Let's get to some follow-up. I promised last week that I would share my YouTube recap. You guys were very open and had your things available for, I don't know how you guys got them so quickly. I couldn't do it as fast as you, but I promised I would share mine, and I just want to share it. And I have actually an interesting takeaway as well from my YouTube recap. First, the personal piece. My top interests were AI technology trends, sports game analysis, which surprised me actually that it was so high, product reviews, comedy skits, which I think that this is actually wrong. I don't really watch any comedy skits on YouTube, funny enough. Maybe SNL sometimes, so maybe that's what it is. And then tech company news. So for the most part, pretty predictable for me, if you know me. It also, one of my favorite parts about this recap was that it gave you an arc of your watch history. So at the very beginning in early 2025, it was mostly sports. Mid 2025 was home projects, which was very revealing to me because I was like, oh yeah, I was like cleaning my parents' garage and learning how to organize and kind of getting into woodworking a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, that was true. And then late 2025 comedy show. So again, I don't know where that one's coming from, but I guess it's a part of it. But the interesting thing to me was that it also said I watched 1,534 channels this year, which is 4 times the average user. And so it's interesting. That's a lot of channels, right? I watch a lot of YouTube, of course. I think most of us do in this studio, I hope. But what that meant is that if that was 4 times the average user, that means that the average user, assuming that it was exact, watches 383 channels every year. So about 400. The average YouTube user watches 400 channels every year. And here was my takeaway. That means that every year you have quite a few chances as a new creator to be one of those 400. It speaks to the huge opportunity that is on YouTube right now. And I know for a fact that Benji has something to say about this.
Well, you probably left your phone on and just kept auto playing because that's kind of crazy. But that's a good point that the more channels you watch, regardless if it's a little bit or a lot, represents the chances at bat you get as a new creator. I mean, actually, I don't have a lot of thoughts on this. I just believe that these numbers might be skewed by YouTube Shorts if you're swiping through. I mean,
that's true.
Imagine if you're watching a YouTube Short that represents a channel, and so you can get through so much more. You know what is funny is I think that when you look at it by percentage, though, how many of us are watching a handful of channels for a long period of time? So out of your 1,000 channels that you watch, I wouldn't be surprised if there's probably like 10 that represent maybe like 30 or 40, maybe even more percentage wise of your you know,
My
of
watch
your
time.
watch time. Because I know for me, I can't even pull it up. For me, there's definitely 10 channels that probably take up probably 50%. That's without me looking at my YouTube. What do you call it?
I think it was replay.
Replay. But yeah, it's interesting. I think that's just purely a strategic move, though, to do what Spotify does.
Exactly.
And I was running today before live streaming. I just got done live streaming at my house, funny enough. And as I'm running, I did 6 miles. I get to thinking about stuff, and oftentimes YouTube. I thought, what a fascinating concept that people are proud to share what they consumed. It's like they're gaming the fact that you're spending time watching or listening to YouTube videos and giving you a post. Really, let's be honest, it's just something people can put in their stories or post it on their Instagram, and they're trying to make it valuable, right? All the time, in some cases, that you wasted watching YouTube. Now it's like a whole post that you can say.
Well, people value their time on YouTube.
I think so. It's like a flex. Say you like into some channels. Like, look, I was actually a big fan of this channel. I don't know. Because for me, I teach this to my kids, you know, as they start using more devices, creating content, being creative, but also consuming content. You want to create way more than you consume. And it's ironic that we're even talking about this because I don't know if I told you, but I have stopped watching YouTube during the day.
Really?
So I don't watch YouTube videos until after like 9 p.m.
Wow.
Yep, nothing. Unless I'm researching for a video I'm creating or researching like a topic, then I allow myself to. Sometimes I get pulled into Instagram, you know, swiping through as I'm supposed to DM on Instagram. That's why I wish it was separate.
A separate app.
But yeah, in December right now, because I'm putting on this mindset of in 2026, which I don't wait for the next year, I just do it right away. I want to create more than I consume because I think, to be fair, not just the average person, but even creators, we get pulled into looking at other people's videos, watching other people's TikToks, mindlessly scrolling. And we justify it because we're like, oh, we want to pay attention. We want to connect with other creators. We want to, see if there's any ideas we want for our channel. But it's so easy because these algorithms are so dang good to just watch it. And, I said this, I wasn't speaking about my wife, but both her and I started listening to podcasts a lot this year, like almost like freakishly a lot. And I'm observing her listen and watch her favorite podcast, and I'm doing the same thing too. So I made it to say, you know what? I'm not going to wait till next year, but in 2026, I'm going to not watch YouTube. Let's see how long this lasts, at least for the foreseeable future during the day. And at night when I'm doing the dishes, relaxing, I will listen to a podcast. But even then, it's like I got other things I want to do, like hang out with Judy, watch a show or movie. So why do I say all this? In the whole update thing, people are consuming more YouTube than ever before by the numbers. And we kicked off the year with the CEO talking about all the things they're doing, including how big they are on TV. Just more opportunity for you as a creator, like you said.
A question for you. How are you guys listening to podcasts? Are you doing it on YouTube?
Podcasts?
Yeah, podcasts.
100%.
Interesting. Yeah.
100%. If you don't listen to podcasts on YouTube, I think that's strange.
No, see, because I come from the era where podcasts were pre-YouTube, right?
Yes.
So it's like podcasts on the iPod, and podcasts on the iPhone.
Yeah.
And then it was really like podcasts on Spotify. They were really big for a while. And then it became podcasts on YouTube, right?
But there's 3 reasons I do it.
Yeah, tell me.
Specifically. Number 1, I pay for YouTube Premium, so it keeps playing wherever I'm at. Now, I know that they do this on Spotify, right? Mm-hmm. But 2, I oftentimes want to continue watching it on any device, whether it's my phone, the Google Home Hub, or the TV. So I like the fact that YouTube is everywhere. And because of it, people tend to make video podcasts on YouTube versus on other platforms that might just be an audio podcast. Even the fact that, like there's podcasts are just all audio.
Yeah.
To me, that's strange.
Yeah,
I want to see them.
That's all I listen to.
I just want to see them. I don't need them to even entertain the camera. I just like that, hey, I get to see their conversation. I mean, it comes from the Joe Rogan, like era. Like he always had the video part. And I think there's definitely a third reason, just because that's where the final destination is. That's where everyone is going. So I just like to kind of be there and learn. But for those three reasons, that's why it's, to me, this is a justification for consuming content. We want to learn what's working, what other people are doing, kind of like have a familiarity with the platform. Well, it's a waste of time to me to listen to podcasts on Spotify.
Wow.
Or even now, I told you I'm like super old. I listen to Pandora for music.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm doing YouTube music. Same thing, because I want to be all in on YouTube in 2026. Like freakishly all in.
But not watching during the day.
Because guess what I'm going to be doing during the day? Creating content.
Yeah.
Which, if you're a creator listening to this, that should be your number one goal when you wake up. Don't just pick up Instagram, open it up, and then start scrolling through. Don't check your DMs. Don't like put on your favorite podcast. This is just me, like really kind of like hopefully inspiring you, but pushing you. First task, first action, first goal, create something. And it doesn't actually have to be on YouTube. I was even thinking I want to do more Instagram Reels as well. So it's any kind of content related to what I do. That's one thing I'm doing. So yeah, I told you my motto 2 years ago was now.
Yes.
Do it now. And then this year was now again.
Yes.
Want to hear my motto for this year?
Can I guess? Yeah. Now again.
No, it's now for reals.
Now for reals. I like it.
I mean, I was doing it for reals the first 2 years, but now I'm like, I need to level up. So everything you just heard from me is me leveling up my commitment to not only myself, to my business, for me, my wife and I, but to the creators that listen, that are, connected to me, that get coached by me. I'm not like resting here. Like December,
I know
most people like chill or whatever. I told you guys, hey, we're locked in. We're doing this Tuesday evening podcast show because now Nucci doesn't need us to do it at 7 a.m., I guess. And I'm excited. I could say this. With all that being said, I'm pumped up.
Me too. When you were beginning with your process of now, beginning again, starting again, you were starting with vlogging the new way. And one of the big things that was a part of that was your experience vlogging on the main channel with Judy. And one of the things that I'm sure that was something that was a learned skill over time was your ability to record in public. It's one of the questions we get asked most. And last week in AskCSP, we were asked if Costco had ever asked you to stop filming in the middle, and you'd said no, but we did get some feedback from one of our star students of Vlogging Academy, Carrie.
Are they gonna say like there's actual rules I have to follow?
No.
When I see the sign that says no filming, I just walk by it.
No, he doesn't see the sign Costco. Just to be clear, he doesn't see the sign. But at Carry On Living Well, you should go check out her channel if you're interested in seeing someone who's doing vlogging the new way. She says Whole Foods asked her to stop filming one time when she was doing it. For context, she does some health and kind of like general approach to eating and weight loss on her channel. And, so one part of that is trying to get an understanding of how you can record in public. And so each of these stores has slightly different rules. I know, Benji, you've had moments you talked about last week where you have been asked to stop before. But maybe you have something to say about this, but what you've told me in the past is that you just, respect what the business asks you to do. And there's always another chance to go shopping and put that into a vlog as well.
And so what Carrie's question is, what do you do in the case?
Oh, no, there was no question. She was just giving us feedback that she said, oh, well, when we were talking about you not having issues in Costco, that she had issues in Whole Foods. So...
Oh, in Whole Foods, yeah. Oh, I think there is like a skill and a certain method to vlogging in public, especially in a private business. You got to be very low key about it, and you don't want this thing holding the camera up like up in the air. This is why I don't have it right now, but the Osmo, you can keep it really close down, at the cart. In fact, I have it. Excuse me. I have a little magnet now. It attaches to the cart itself, so it makes it really easy. By the way, we do have a guest today, and they just jumped on. So, I know we got a whole bunch of topics, but one of the things that's exciting about this show And the inspiration for us to even do this is back in the day, I used to have a show called Video Influencers where it interviewed creators. Great. Loved it. Very successful. Sold this book right here. 140,000 sold, which is pretty dope. So mission accomplished, Sean. I think we can like celebrate. We've never like really celebrated. But then the next show, this one, Creator Secrets, comes from Clubhouse during 2020 when we all jumped on because we were all locked down in our homes. And so I wanted to bring more people on because what I loved is during the pandemic, I was able to answer everyone's questions because I kind of felt lonely. I was in the studio all by myself, even mutually. We were working remotely, which was that was a huge another story, that huge benefit, right, to the pandemic, learning how to work remotely, run this thing. So I'm excited today because we're finally having a guest that's not like a proper interview guest. This is just somebody that had a question. It's like, hey, I'm busy during the day. If you want to ask me questions, then jump on the show and you can ask. And it's obviously going to be creator related unless he's going to ask me about like cooking or something, which I highly doubt. But yeah.
Yeah, so this is the segment of the show that we call #AskCSP. If you have a question for the show and you don't get the opportunity to call in, you can use the hashtag #AskCSP or email hello@Vlogging Academy and we will answer your questions. But we have, as Benji said, a guest live to go to right now. Welcome, Corteezy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
By the
Hello
way,
guys.
first off, before
I
you
guess
say anything,
Yeah, I want Benji to
I want
introduce
to
you.
introduce you. Okay. So I've been doing this a very long time. And one of the problems of that is you might not see the creator economy, platforms, content creation with the same fresh eyes. And so I always love connecting with younger creators, not just like age-wise, but like just new to it. John Cortese is probably one of the most well-known Seattle-based creators. Shout out to Seattle. Yeah. I know that you're a Eagles fan, which I'll forgive you for, but he lives in Seattle, reps. But he is known as the guy you follow if you want to know about what's going on in Seattle. And so I have connected with John. We've become friends. I oftentimes answer his creator questions. So today, John is giving us his time. And he saved his question rather than ask me on the phone for this show. So, John, thank you so much for being on Creator Secrets today.
No, of course. Thank you guys for having me. So my question actually it comes from the community itself. So there was a smaller content creator, I guess. Uh, what's the proper way to say it? They're just yeah, just
New?
a smaller content
Yeah,
creator
new.
who's a newer content creator whose video blew up in the city, and she was just talking about how um that there's certain agencies coming into Seattle and reaching out to all creators, but not all creators are getting paid the same. And
Mm-hmm.
she's saying like there's such a discrepancy, I think that's the word,
Discrepancy,
where
yep.
it's like yeah, where they're everyone's putting in the exact same amount of work, but the bigger creators are getting paid versus the other ones are just getting, let's just say, not even like free tickets to whatever. Let's for as an example, in her video, and she was just kind of just frustrated, like, hey, like I know we only have like maybe 5,000, 10,000 followers compared to like the really big ones. What's like? She was just trying to say like, hey, like we should unite as creators and actually get compensated. And I guess she was just coming from an aspect of like kind of frustrated because she thinks that agencies are like taking advantage of them. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I would break this up into two-part answer. Number one, this is just capitalism at work. If you're willing to do more work for less pay, guess what? The brands are going to want to work with you. So that's just how it is. That's not going to change. And in fact, me being on YouTube, long form vlogging, to see TikTok creators blow up, and there's just so many more creators, it competed against us and our rates. Even if I had a judgment, guess what? I was at peace with it because, hey, short form creators are kind of like the trendy thing. A lot of people are scrolling through and they were just getting a lot of opportunities. So accepting that and knowing that. And this is why the second part of my answer is really important. That's why creators need to connect with each other. That's why a show like this, or back in the day, having the what do we call it, Clubhouse, was like super valuable. Not just the public rooms for everyone to listen to, not just creators, but people that were interested in becoming creators, but private rooms where you connected with creators one-on-one or in like, small groups. John, I like to put on creator events in Seattle. And so we just had our first big one, the Seattle Creator Summit. There was about 65, 70 creators there, and it's super valuable. So guess what? We can share our stories. We can even share our rates that we charge, so we know we're not undercutting each other. Now, it doesn't change the first part of my answer. People might hear your rate and be like, I want to compete against John, so I'm going to go a little bit lower than him, right? It's like, but guess what? That is okay. And this is why, as a creator, you have to understand, number one, what is it that you're doing? Like, what kind of content are you creating for who are you? Okay. Secondly, what makes you different? And then 3, what is your value? So the thing about John, if a lot of people don't know, if there's any breaking news in Seattle, if there's any experiences, if there's any Seattle related topics, like, he is the man. I don't know anybody that even comes close. We'll be walking around downtown, or he'll just be like some random spot and people know his name. And that is valuable. That is valuable in itself. Great engagement. And guess what? He shows it in person, does live events, and he can have 300 people buy all the tickets and show up. I've actually been there. So this is not all talk. If I'm a brand and I know that about John, when he charges more money, because he is valuable, he's a creator that I think has a lot more engagement, because not only are they engaging, look at his comments, look at how people address him or, connect with him on the street.
Yes.
But show up to his events and pay money to get in. There might be this other creator that might get a lot of views, but maybe they're not getting engagement. Maybe they don't get people to show up. So understanding what is your unique value proposition, not only to your audience, but also to a brand, is really important. So this other creator that's voicing their concern, or they're stressed out, or maybe they're even like complaining about it, it's better to understand this and be at peace with it, and then connect with other creators. Because vice versa, guess what you can do? Maybe that other person that's undercutting you, like charging a lot less, they just don't know. John, how many times have we talked about something that you're like, oh, there's no way, no, like, that's not going to happen to me. No, well, he didn't say this, but like, when I first connected with him, he wasn't putting on his own events. He was hosting other people's events. But he believed he could. So guess what? A month ago, or whatever, he threw one of his first bigger events and then sold out. So that was just purely, and it's not like I am smarter than him. It's just I've had experience doing this stuff. So I knew, based off his views, based off his engagements, like, if you throw an event and you're confident you can throw one of the event, totally going to happen. That chemistry, that, conversation is going to lead to us valuing ourselves a lot more and charging the right rates. And that can happen across the board. The thing about the brand world, because they usually just work by default through agencies, they tend to know not only what the rates that they should be paying and how much they could get away with, but also they are more strategic. They're better at negotiations. As creators, we got to be doing the same thing too. I'm not the only person that has done this. This is not unique to me. Forever, creator events were the destination where people want to go so they can connect, learn from each other, help each other out, collaborate. And because of that, it's like this weird tension between the brand world and the creator world. We obviously work together. Brands pay for us to create content, and then we, accomplish some kind of, conversion, right? Whether it's showing up at an event, selling a product. But if you're completely by yourself, especially if you're a beginner, you have no clue. So then you're going to get this situation. It's like, I'm doing all this work. I know I get way more engagement. But they won't charge me. They won't pay me more because this other person is charging a lot less. By the way, all that kind of evens itself out. But initially it can be really difficult, because then guess what you do? You start thinking, maybe I should lower my rates. I don't think you should lower your rates until you see that there's enough people competing that you might have to do. Me, I lean into what am I valuable at? so I can raise my rates. And that's what John Cortese does. He's somebody that really stands apart. So that's the kind of quick answer to your question.
Yeah.
Just know that this ain't new. This was how it was in 2008, and it's going to be like this in 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk a lot about is that, creators get in it for the creation 99% of the time. They want to go and they want to be the creatives, the connectors. They want to have a social presence. They want to be a leader in their community. And accidentally, a lot of times, they fall backwards into the entrepreneurship side of things. And like Benji said, a lot of these things are truly just products of capitalism. It's just like any other small business, right? It's the same as two businesses competing for customers. It's the same as two restaurants trying to serve the same dish on the same corner, right? And so all of those things come into play with creators. And that doesn't mean that you need to look at each other in a negative light, which is maybe some of that kind of feeling of anger around agencies that you're describing there, John.
Yeah.
To me, it is actually a really beautiful thing about the creator community that Benji brought up first and foremost, which is that there's a lot of support of each other and sharing of knowledge, right? And in reality, there's so much abundance to go around that sharing of knowledge can really only ever help everybody else, which I think is very powerful.
Yeah.
And so the connecting with people that you brought up, I think is very crucial. And B, doing so in a really transparent and honest way, not being afraid to have the kind of hard conversations is the piece that can sometimes be missing even when you do connect. And so that I mean, I don't have a ton to add, frankly, but that is where I fall.
Yeah, and John, I actually want you to maybe reply back or ask me another question. But the quick thing I'll add to this is I don't look at other people as competition because I'm not competition.
Exactly.
I've always carved my own path so that when I charge my unique rates, even if they are higher, even if they might be a premium, price, it's justified because my connection, my engagement, my relationship with my audience is so strong that when a brand, company, or business wants to reach that customer base or people that potentially could sign up for their service, product, or whatever, that it's justified because of that. And no one else has that. And that's why if you just copycat everybody else, then you're no one. But if you're your own thing, this is why it's so cheesy. Be uniquely you. Be whatever's authentic to you. Guess what? That's actually a good thing because you end up having an audience that's unique to you in terms of the connection. So any other thoughts? I mean, what do you think when I say that?
Me? No, I think you're 100% right. I think they were coming at it. I think it's because I think Seattle right now is going through like a
Growing
creator
pains?
boom.
Growing
I
pains.
think yeah, like there's actually a lot of content creators like coming up.
Mm.
I've seen it, and I think a lot of the motivation happened this year with a couple people blowing up, like me included, and then with the World Cup, I think a lot of people were just pushing
Oh,
like,
yeah.
hey, create because the World Cup is coming. Like it's gonna be a boom of tourism. Like they're gonna be searching everything where to go. So I think everyone's like, oh, like good, you guys are right. So there has been a boom of creators, but with that comes with a lot of people don't know how to maneuver once, like you said,
Mhm.
like we create because we enjoy it, but then you fall back into wait, like we do go into like becoming an entrepreneur because
Yeah.
that's just like the default, right?
Yeah, I mean, we want to make money doing what we love to do and from our content that we create. So you have to think about money. You have to kind of to a certain degree build a business, and you fall back into being an entrepreneur. I learned that actually term from Austin.
Well, and one of the things too, one of the things you were mentioning, Corteezy, was the idea of agencies, right? And that is where the agency play, I think, comes in a lot of ways, right? In the sense that the agencies are often there, and I mean, it depends because agencies are just as variable as creators are, right? In terms of their attitude, their willingness to help, their philosophies,
who they really represent.
Exactly. And so it's hard to parse that. It's not like someone gives you a textbook and they have all these things defined out and a perfect map of everything that's going on. And
They'll
it's
tell you
constantly
whatever
changing.
to get your business.
That's exactly right. Right. And they're running a business too, right? They're trying to make their buck. Right. And so but the agencies are there. And the reason they exist is because they promise to solve some of those business problems for talent who, maybe sometimes don't have that background as well.
Or don't want to fall into entrepreneurship.
Or don't want to, which is 100% valid, right? And so, I kind of want to hear more about what your questions are about agencies, or maybe what this person was asking about with agencies, because obviously Benji and I have a lot of thoughts about it. We're kind of beginning our own agency, so we're obviously not entirely anti-agency.
Yeah.
but I'm curious about what else was there about the agency side of things.
Yeah, I guess she was just, her complaint or frustration was, why is it that only big content creators are getting paid?
Yeah.
Why? And she's like,
Well, I'll
we're
answer that.
she's like, we're showcasing the exact same thing. We're both going to the exact same event, but one's getting paid and one isn't. And she's like, if we just connected as all creators, I think we should all get paid. And she was like, not obviously, like, she understands one has a following, but she's like, we should at least get paid at least $50 compared to doing it for a free ticket.
Yeah.
And so, and then I just know the comment section in that video was like all the Seattle creators talking amongst themselves, and a lot of the upcoming, like I was saying, the upcoming creators were feeling the same way. Like, hey, like, there's these big content creators coming to the exact same events and they're getting paid. So it was just like, so that's what the discourse of right now in Seattle is like.
So the real question is, how do you get paid money versus doing things for free?
Yeah, that's
That
true.
is the real question. Okay. And number one, if you get paid $50 or you get paid $500 or you get paid nothing, that is 100% your responsibility. It's your fault. It is yours to own. And the reason these other people get to charge premium rates is because they asked for it. Now, they asked for it and they maybe package up the rate and do certain things in a way where it's justified, versus the other person, they might ask maybe even a cheaper rate thing. Oh, I'm definitely going to get this because I'm charging a lot less than this other guy who's charging like 10x more. And then they get nothing and they end up doing it for free. How does that work? That's why I answered the question in the first question that you asked. That answer is capitalism. So people do different things. They do the same thing differently. Okay. And how you do it really matters. Who you know really matters. Like the way you negotiate, the way you have a conversation, the way you present yourself, all those kind of things. So you might be thinking like, yeah, if they charge this much and I get the same amount of views, same amount of engagement, we start around the same time, like I should get the thing. That's just not how it works sometimes. Okay. And then it's your job to figure out, how do I go from having to do everything for free to getting paid? One of the number one reasons why people don't get paid, because they started by doing everything for free. Now, guess what? I started doing things for free at the very, very beginning, and I had to crawl my way through. But I always knew, right? Like I was going to do more and more. But these days, and you're somebody that probably can speak to this. If you're getting views and you're getting engagement and it takes a certain amount of time to create that content, and they would, when I say they, the brands or a business have to hire people, right? Set aside creators. They have to hire people or a production company to create it for them, or they would have to spend time and they would have to pay money to their employees to create that content. Well, inherently in the content creation process, there's a value there. So if you stack that with all the views and everything, you can justify the rates. But why are you not getting the rates? That is the real question. And there's just so many variables that go through. This is why connecting with creators that can coach you on how to do this is really helpful. Being in the right agency that represents you. But I think before any of that is like, you got to believe I'm worth the money. Now, this is going to sound like frou-frou, like all inspirational, like, motivational. You just got to be rah and think positive. Is that all actually true? Because the reason you're doing things for free is because you might have said, oh, I'm worth $500. And they'll, no, actually, we got this for a trade deal over here with these people. And you're like, oh, they did it for free? Yeah, I'll do it for free, but maybe you can give me like an extra ticket to the whatever, right? And then you say yes to that. And you don't think that much of it. You're like, oh, that's an isolated conversation. That was just for this one project. I'll get it on the next one. The worst is when that brand's like, hey, on this deal, we don't have a budget, but we'll get you on the next one, right? I've heard that so many times. You accepted that. You accepted that negotiation. So most people, they don't like rejection, so they want to do something. They think like doing something is like moving forward. No, creating great content that people like and then they follow you or subscribe to your YouTube channel, that's what matters the most. The brand deals are, and this is going to sound really pretentious, they're lucky to work with you. You especially, John, right? And I know there's a lot of creators, not just you, in Seattle that are doing great stuff and getting paid to do it and getting a lot of opportunities. The brands and businesses are lucky to work with you. At the same time, you're also lucky to have opportunities to work with them. So the ones that don't get paid, they just kind of fall into this like maybe this path where that inevitably becomes like the norm for them. So remember I said, oh, you think it's just kind of isolated? Nothing's isolated. Just like you and I talk about different stuff in the creator economy, guess what? Brands will talk. Agencies will talk. See, brands kind of have more leverage because they already know they should work with agencies that help them on these influencer campaigns. So just by the nature of how they do things, they're already savvy to how much you charge maybe to another brand. This is why for me, I always advocate creators, know your rate and charge your rate. I should like coin that, like have a t-shirt, right? Because if you if you lower your rate, you think that, oh, no one's going to find out about that. I'm just going to, no, someone might find out about it. So say you're working at another brand. Maybe you worked at this other agency. Now you work for this brand and you remember that conversation. Guess what you might do? You're like, oh, I know they'll take less because they took less last time. It's like, oh, but they've grown. No, trust me. Like, I'll play it out just like we wrote in the email last time or whatever. This is what happens. And they talk like this. The mistake, I'd say, the short answer here, most creators think brands, agencies want to play fair. No, they're in it to make as much money as possible, have the least amount of expensive, the most amount of profit, and that's how it is. So if they can get someone to do it for less, they will. Just like you should be able to make the decision not to do something if they can't pay your rate or charge the highest rate that you know that's justified value and be comfortable saying that, knowing that, guess what? If they can't afford it, you've got to pass. That's just how it is. And too many creators, they take the route of, hey, I just want more deals, even if it's trade, versus being the creators like, you know what? I'm going to just be patient. I'll get my time, get my opportunity. Yeah, I have to pass on all these kind of things. But then when you have the right brand that wants to connect with your audience, you get that payday. And what you'll find is it's better to do one big payday than 10 small ones, especially if they're all free or trade deals.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I've learned that lesson too, not too long ago. And yeah, so it's because sometimes I think as creators you can fall in the loop of like, well, I really want to work with this brand, but I'm not gonna get paid. But it's just like the name of it. But like you said, you have to be able to stand back and be like, no, because this is where my worth is, and I know as like you know a content creator who just started like a year and a half ago, passing up on something is tough, like you said. But if you have taught me that this is what I'm worth, this is what I'm worth, and I have to say no to some deals, and yeah, and I've learned that.
And most creators, guess what? They don't learn that. And even if they do learn it or hear it from someone like me or maybe another creator, they're still too afraid to be like, this is my rate. And they're like afraid of the rejection, so they don't even try. And I've surprised myself. I've like said numbers before because they're justified, but still they were higher than when I started. When I first started, we charged like $50 in 2008. I thought that was a lot because we were doing free stuff forever. Okay, when I say forever, like a year or whatever. So when I went from 50 to $100, I was like, yeah. Amazing. So
doubled your rate.
So when we signed our first multiple six-figure deal, think about how my mind was blown. Like I could not have even fathomed that would even happen to me. That was like a slow build to that. But what I always did was like, number one, I understood my value and I always valued myself. But more importantly, like you do, John, every single day, I always leveled up my content. I always leveled up my business. I always got better and I grew and I learned new skills. You know, like as things are shifting, I wasn't just continuing to do it the old way. I was like, what's the new way to do it? How can I learn from these younger creators or these newer creators like you? And I just build on my foundation from before versus just relying on that. It doesn't stay the same because guess what? I'm in it 10 years. I've got this certain rate. There's this newbie, right? That's, living at home with their parents, not married, no kids, no bills, no nothing. And they're just like having a lot of fun. And yeah, they might undercut you. They might get as many views or that is capitalism at work. And it happens. If you do not do that, like if you do not understand that and accept that, you'll be left in the dust because like I should be charging this much, only as much as the market values that rate. And the way we were always able to raise our rates for years, for like literally almost forever, was we always got better. We always justify it with more views, with more engagement. And also there's a whole bunch of other things. If you want to know more about that, connect with me, go to vloggingacademy.com. In my course, we talk about this kind of stuff, brand deals, whatever. Obviously come to my events too. So any last thoughts, John? I mean, you're welcome to ask another question if you have one.
No, I think that was like the big one that I just wanted to be able to ask and be able to have a proof of like, oh, someone who's been doing it in the game for a while in that discourse, because that conversation is like rumbling through all of the platforms right now. And I've even had like smaller content creators like DM me about certain things as well. And like, so, I think, and for me, I was like, hey, like, obviously I answer it with open and honesty, and then I always refer them to, hey, there's possibly an upcoming event that we had, like the Seattle Content Creator Summit, possibly coming up next year. So just stay tuned. Then that's a good way to where we're all gonna connect. And I think, and I've been like ingraining that in people's heads, and people like been you kind of started to get excited about it.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, John. Appreciate you. And if you're a creator that's listening to this podcast, don't be shy. We want you in here. We want this to be a conversation. By the way, you're welcome to hang out if you want, or continue to listen on. You can literally text me and say, hey, I got another question. This is what I'm here for. So I guess I'll talk to you later unless you're hanging out with us.
Check out Corteezy's stuff on TikTok. Corteeezyy. Is that right? If I remember correctly?
Yeah, Eezyy. Yeah.
And then also on Instagram at same spelling of Corteezy, but with John in front of it, right?
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. No, yeah, I actually have to go. I'm actually gonna go shoot a brand deal now.
Oh yeah. There you go. There you go. John Cortese. Crushing it. Really appreciate you. And yes, John and I have connected through other creator events. I'm hosting my next Seattle Creator Summit right now, and obviously would love to have you, John. We're going to collaborate on some stuff, but that is the best way, better than even me, to learn about what is going on, how much you should charge, how much are other people charging, because this is exclusive for creators. I don't just invite everybody and anybody, definitely not agencies. I mean, partly because I've got my own agency, but really because I know creators trust each other more than anybody. At least I feel like the really good ones. Other people are afraid to share information. Nothing wrong with that, but you're going to learn more when you share more and you come to those kind of creator events. So if you are listening to this somewhere else, go to whatever you've got.
No, of course. No, yeah. And thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me. And thank you for answering my question, guys.
Of course. See you soon.
Later.
Bye, guys.
Let's continue on with some a little bit more follow-up, but we're going to get into the main topic here soon, which is Netflix. The follow-up from last week, and here's the context, that Netflix Chromecasting was only available on ad-free plans. We talked about this before. And it seemed very weird that, you had to start paying a higher price to start Chromecasting. And we talked about it in the context of YouTube, in the sense that YouTube has taken over the TV, right? And that the beginning of that for them was that little tiny Chromecast icon in the very corner of the thing.
Who would have ever thought when they did that, they never thought, Google and YouTube would be a competitor to us, right?
Not at all.
Yeah, and that was just not necessarily a mistake. that just never was a thought that they thought they would have to be thinking about.
Exactly. And our theory about that was that Netflix wanted to force you into paying more money. And I pushed back a little bit. The counter was that advertisers, I thought, usually pay more than subscribers do when they pay for a premium thing. Now, I came back with some data. I did some research. And here is the answer for Q1 of 2023 in Netflix's results. They say, we are pleased with the current performance and trajectory of our per member advertising economics. In the US, for instance, our ads plan has already has a total ARM, which is the subscription plus ads revenue per user, greater than our standard plan. Translated, they make more money on the lower tier plan than they did on the higher tier plan. So, hurrah, I was correct, except for the fact that in Q2 of 2024, they updated it and they said, currently our ads ARM is lower than our non-ads ARM. So it fluctuates a little bit, but it gives you a sense of the fact that really paying Netflix more money actually can potentially cost them money, believe it or not. So I don't think it's that. So I just wanted to bring that up. But actually, the real reason I brought this up is because Doc Rock asked as follow-up, he says, who the heck has Netflix with ads? And Doc, I've got an answer for you, which is that 94 million subscribers, which is a third of their subscriber count as of May 2025, are using the ad-free plan. And by the way, across the industry for other streamers, I think it's something like 50% are ad-supported streamers rather than ad-free.
I'm with you, Doc Rock. I am not going to watch a commercial. When I see it, I get a little angry. I sign up for ad-free. I'd rather have less subscriptions to streaming platforms, but have no ads than to sign up for everything and be able to watch every show. I will have a little bit of FOMO and I'll just let it be, okay? If I can't watch Yellowstone on Paramount or whatever, I'm not going to watch. In fact, it's on Amazon if you pay for it. It's funny. I wonder how much I end up paying for shows, though, that if I just had the subscription, whatever. But no, I don't want ads. You know what? I think this represents where we're going as a society, because it was so easy to be like, oh yeah, $5 a month, whatever. And you're just signing up for this and that. And then the pandemic happens and then the streaming wars are. It's like, yeah, I'll get Disney Plus too. Paramount's going to come out. I don't even know what's on there, but I heard there's this one show I need to watch. And so you have like 10 things and then starts really adding up. So people are hurting. Like it's really expensive to just live, at least in America. I don't know the rest of the world. So people are just being more discerning with it. And yeah, if they have to watch an ad, this is kind of crazy about the whole thing though. Where are you totally okay watching ads in general?
You're reading my mind, Benji. Yes.
And that is the real like fascinating thing, regardless of what I just said about not wanting to watch ads.
And that answers YouTube, right? Is what you're saying.
What's the percentage there?
I imagine it's much, much higher. I actually have no idea. I'll look that up for next week's show. Okay. Or Neutrally can research it for us because he's in studio this time. But just a note about that. So on HBO, right, which has been running 2001: A Space Odyssey, the movie, right, arguably one of the greatest movies of all time. There is a cut in that movie that's known as the greatest cut in cinema. Do you guys know about this?
No.
So sorry for those of you who haven't seen 2001. I think we're past the spoiler expiration date at this point. But as you go along, right, you go into and you're watching this movie. At the beginning, it starts way, way back in history, and there's like a bunch of gorillas that are clearly kind of like proto-humans or pre-humans, right? And they're going and they're fighting with other animals and things like that, and they develop. Some of them discover that you can use a bone to kill someone, and that's like a huge like thing, right? And so what happens is they're celebrating because they've killed someone using this bone, and they throw the bone up in the air, and the camera pans up with the bone. And it's slow motion, and it cuts instantly with a perfect alignment between the bone and a black screen next with a spaceship in the middle to kind of show that technology has progressed that far.
Yeah.
Greatest cut in cinema history, arguably. Right. I was watching it on HBO when I had HBO with ads. Sorry, Doc. And they put an ad in between those two cuts.
What?
I know. Oh Which shows you how bad HBO was, owned by Warner Bros. And with that, we can talk about the main topic of the day, which is the Netflix Warner Brothers deal, as things were announced last week. So to catch people up, because I'm not expecting that everybody knows here, this is a creator show. This is kind of like broader media news, right? But I do think it's important for us to understand what's happening here because it illuminates what's going on in the broader media industry, which, by the way, is now the YouTube media industry. So here's what was announced. On December 5th, Netflix agreed to buy Warner Bros. Discovery's studio and streaming business for $72 billion. What Netflix gets out of the deal is Warner Brothers film, TV, and game studios, HBO and HBO Max, DC Entertainment Studios, DC Studios, TNT Sports, and their content libraries. The broadcast side of their machine gets spun off, and Netflix just gets all of the content and all of the production and all of the personnel, basically. Of course, there's a lot of questions about whether this will go through. There's discussions from Trump about whether he's going to support it, right? There's an active hostile takeover and bidding war from Paramount, who was the other kind of company that was making a real gunning for this Warner Bros. Studio. And it's just kind of very dramatic. I think that's well covered. I don't know. Do you have anything to say about kind of the news itself? But I have a take about this.
Yeah. Netflix wanting to get bigger by buying Warner Brothers. It's not like a big surprise to me. I think more is the fact that Warner Brothers wants to sell and not just do their own thing. But I think the initial thing is the streaming wars are getting really competitive. We're talking about how people are more discerning about what they pay for, right?
Yeah.
What they sign up for. For about 2 or 3 years, every studio, every kind of media outlet had to have their own streaming, including like even smaller creators having their own subscription models or whatever.
Yes.
And so as the economy maybe slows down, things are getting tighter, it's getting harder to compete. And now people are just like, you know what? This happens in all like parts of business where a whole bunch of big players gobble up the small players. And that's what's happening here.
Yeah. And, you know, I teased it at the beginning of the show, but we were talking about this and you were like, well, this is like massive news, right? This is kind of like game over for the rest of the streamers in a lot of ways, right? You think about who's left after this deal. If HBO Max gets sucked into Netflix, like literally the app will most likely die at this point. It'll just be the Netflix app at that point.
For HBO?
I imagine so,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
I mean, why? I mean,
I didn't even think about that.
I mean, knowing Netflix, they will not want anyone else.
Well, that means
having
I don't
them.
have to pay for HBO. So
Well, that
that's
is one of the
bonus.
things for now, but then they're going to raise the prices, most likely.
like HBO option for Netflix. You're saying?
What I think is going to happen is they will retain the HBO brand in front of the actual shows that have it, but there's not going to be like an HBO tab. There's not going to be like I mean, maybe there'll be one of those carousels, but we'll get to it in a second. Because I think the thing that is going to decide most of the viewing behavior is not the brands that people are watching, but the algorithm deciding what people are going to watch more and more. Again, we'll get to that in a second. But zooming out a little bit, this deal has been sort of widely discussed and critiqued and lamented and concerned. Pretty much every reaction you can have to this deal, someone has had, right? And one of the big things that people have talked about is that, well, this shouldn't happen. It's monopolistic. This is the number 1 streamer and the number 3 streamer combining. They're just buying up one of their biggest competitors. This is, anti-competitive. They're going to own 40% of the industry and things like that. And you go down the list and you look at the other streamers, and it's like Disney is high up there. And, there's Paramount that's kind of left, and Apple TV.
What did you say, Amazon Prime?
And Amazon Prime, that's right. Amazon Prime is the other one. And there's one more, actually, which is Peacock. Peacock and I think Paramount will probably combine and merge into the kind of the 5th competitor. And so everybody's freaking out about this. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, they're kind of forgetting about one of the biggest competitors to Netflix. And by the way, there is someone else who makes this argument, which is the Netflix CEO. And when we bring this up all the time, if you guys right now go to nielsen.com/data-center/the-gauge, we'll put it in the description. You can look at the current version of this. They have one for October 2025. And this is Nielsen, the people who've measured broadcast and cable TV viewing for decades now at this point, before the internet. They have this thing that has measured streaming competition. And of course, Netflix is up there with 8%. Disney is next with 4.8%. Prime is 3.8%. And then you go down, there's even like Roku and Tubi and Paramount and Peacock. Down at the very bottom is Warner Bros. Discovery at 1.3%. And if you think about what's about to happen, they're saying the number 1 and the number 3 streamers, but they haven't accounted for all of these other streamers that are free and ad supported, as we just discussed, like YouTube, like the Roku channel, like Tubi. And so even when you look at it with the combined data for these two companies, 1%, 1.3% and 8%, that's 9.3% total, it comes nowhere near scratching YouTube, who's far and away the top of the pack at 12.9%. And so for me, it's just so funny to look at this and see everyone complaining about these kind of paid streamers and totally missing the most important competitor in the room, in my opinion, which is YouTube. And again, the Netflix CEO is making this case right now. They're saying, listen, we shouldn't be considered a monopoly because we're fighting YouTube and we're fighting TikTok and we're fighting anyone else out there. And I think that he has a point, in my opinion.
And who's he saying that to? Like government officials and like the FTC?
Well, the media, but you have to imagine that he's kind of
Antitrust?
directing it at, the
And,
government
and
officials.
those government officials like scratching their heads like, isn't YouTube just like a website where people upload videos and just like there's YouTubers? That is what's crazy about all this, that people want to watch more YouTube than TV. See, YouTube was just like this thing you watch when you were at your computer and then on your phone. But when you turn on the TV, you watch something proper. I say proper because I grew up in the era of HBO being like this special
Entourage.
place, right? Well, even before that, I don't know what was before that, but anything HBO was legit. Okay, you could say HBO was the top of the pack for premium watching. Okay, so this was like the number one cable option in your cable package. And so all the way down, I'm not saying this in a good or bad way. I'm just saying like everything from HBO and Cinemax and Showtime and all those kind of things, all the way down to the ABCs, NBCs, CBS, Fox or whatever, and everything in between, where that was TV. That was proper, studios, proper Hollywood, showbiz, the movie industry. YouTube was this geeky little platform that at first you didn't even want to tell people you had a YouTube channel. And so you fast forward, it is on top of all that. You know what's crazy about what I just said about HBO? They're just like folded into the options.
Oh, totally.
Even you saying it to me is blowing my mind that HBO could be on Netflix.
Literally.
If you go to Disney Plus, this is a good example of it. When you go to Disney Plus, at the very top of Disney Plus now, they have a Disney proper section. They have a Pixar section. They have a Hulu section. They have an ESPN section, which that's got its own challenges right now. Like people are saying like, I'm like paying for Disney Plus because I want ESPN. And ESPN might get sold out or something. And then you got National Geographic. So all those make up Disney Plus. So it's kind of nice. HBO was always its own thing, including the whole HBO and then HBO Max, and then it was just Max, and then back to HBO, whatever, okay? So think about it. There's this discussion about HBO being part of Netflix, which is kind of crazy, and all these properties, including Warner Brothers, and that's like DC and Superman and Batman. That is like a Game of Thrones. That's like, I think, Lord of the Rings. I don't know, all these kind of crazy things. Then you got YouTube above all that. Above Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Apple, obviously in this case, Netflix and HBO and all that kind of stuff. Why this argument by the Netflix CEO is kind of a big deal about YouTube is YouTube would love to be like, no, we're not over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're proud of it, but they don't want to be part of the discussion.
Yeah, very
They
much.
just be an antitrust thing. This is getting hella like in the weeds, but why for a creator it's a big deal? I was saying before the show, to be honest, I was like, I don't know why we should talk about this, Austin. Like for most creators, they don't care. What actually matters here is that YouTube is number one. So if you're on TikTok or if you're on Instagram or any meta product, like Facebook, if you're doing Snapchat, there's a reason everybody wants to go to YouTube and why YouTube is succeeding. Another way to frame all of this, okay? So imagine, let's talk about fast food places, okay? What's the YouTube equivalent of fast food? There is none. There is none.
There is none. Yeah.
Because the equivalent would be this. So we got McDonald's. And say we got Jack in the Box in America. We've got KFC is in there, maybe Dairy Queen.
Don't forget about Wendy's.
Wendy's. I love Wendy's.
Yeah,
love
4 for $4.
Love the chili. Okay. Imagine if there was another fast food place where they got all their food for free.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Everybody would go there.
Everyone would go there. Okay, but not only did they get their food for free, It's like unlimited, and people are rushing to give away their food there to get sold at that fast food place. Now, it's not as simple as that, because the people that give their food away, guess what they get? A little bit of the profit. But you know what? There's people that give food, and it sounds weird to like give food away and then they sell it back to people. No, I mean, we're talking about the ingredients, okay, to this new fast food, hypothetical food. And when they sell that product, right, this burger or the fries or the shake, whoever gave them that ingredient for that product, they give some little profit to them, right?
Yes.
There's almost no risk involved other than the risk you already took on by giving them the ingredients of the food. That's why there is nothing. There's literally no business, no industry. There's no entity that's like YouTube. YouTube is a phenomenon that I think will be studied for years later. And in fact, there are kind of like similar things. They're like actually other social media platforms.
Yes, exactly.
We give them content or whatever, and that's why they became big, because we go to Facebook and guess what? We get to use it for free. And people post on Facebook. They call it user-generated content,
Yes.
right? Okay. Why in this conversation is a big deal? Because we never thought it would compete with the stuff that people pay for. All right, Neutrally, what was the percentage of people that pay for YouTube versus use the free version and watch ads?
So, according to ChatGPT, in 2025, YouTube has claimed about 125 million paid subscribers on YouTube Premium. However, total users, they had 2.7 billion.
Wow.
So, that suggests about only 4.6% of YouTubers have Premium.
And we were talking about like a third pay for like no ads on Netflix, right?
2/3 on Netflix pay for no ads. Only 1/3 have ads.
That's even worse.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. So it's like, it's an impossible task. It's inevitable that Netflix is going to buy Warner Brothers, or Paramount is going to team up with Peacock, or guess what? Other big thing. I was telling you my theory. I think Apple and what did I say? Apple and another platform is going to combine
You talked
together.
about Paramount?
Oh yeah, Paramount or
Yeah.
Peacock maybe.
Yeah, Peacock
and
as
Apple
well.
would go together. I'm thinking about like Tom Hanks.
I'm telling you, Apple will never. They're just going to do
Okay,
their own
yeah.
Apple thing.
What
But
I'm
I think Peacock and Paramount would.
But that's why Apple will never compete against YouTube for content,
Oh, totally.
because people create content for free for YouTube. But YouTube is good enough of a platform by accident to give you, the person that creates that content, a little bit of pay. When I say a little bit of pay, it's actually pretty good. And that thing is almost impossible to replicate, because that fast food chain that I just talked about, that's not McDonald's, Burger King, Dairy Queen, Wendy's, that have to pay for the ingredients. They forever probably will get all their ingredients for free.
Yeah.
And when you have that going on, there's no catching up to that. It's impossible. You have to create that new platform. Well, when you're like the only one doing it, first off, it's hard to create that. Think about it. The only other ones that can touch it would be like a Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that YouTube has that none of the other social media platforms that have user-generated content?
Horizontal long form video.
Horizontal long form video. Basically, content fit for the television. YouTube's the only one. YouTube is winning the social media war, and they're winning the TV war, and they're over there. And that's what I'm saying. Like, they secret, like, hey, Netflix CEO, just don't mention us. Don't make us part of the conversation, even though they know it and they're proud of it. And as a creator, why that matter? It's worth it to be on YouTube.
Yes.
Because all the money that went to the shows and the movies and the Hollywood industry is now going to start coming to us. Maybe not in the same way, but indirectly or through AdSense or brand deals or whatever. And that's crazy, because the amount of money that is still on the way to us, the creator economy, it's just, we can't even fathom them. Just like we couldn't have fathomed that YouTube would be better than HBO in terms of its value.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go even further than that. All right, you talked about nerding out. Let me go back a little bit. Bear with me here, because what you're talking about as it relates to the content that people create for YouTube has really deep roots in why Netflix would even be buying Warner Brothers in the first place. So if you were to ask yourself, what is the value of Warner Brothers to Netflix? Here is kind of what I would think. The first thing is that number one, first and foremost, they have a back catalog. They have a bunch of movies and a bunch of shows that they know people love and watch, like Friends, for example, right? For Netflix, who is in the game of trying to get people to come to Netflix, stay on Netflix, and come back to Netflix, well, if they have run out of content that they can recommend you faithfully, well, they're screwed. They have nothing else to do. There's nothing else to show you, right? They'll try and give you something that might be interesting to you, but ultimately you'll probably go somewhere else, probably like YouTube. But think about Netflix's history. Netflix started out by, well, shipping DVDs, but when they started out on the TV in terms of the internet, they would license content from all of these studios. Their deep back catalogs, like Friends, for example, like Warner Brothers'
Office
movies.
was on there.
The Office
that was a
on
big
there.
deal. It was an even bigger deal when they removed The Office.
Exactly. And they would then take those shows and make them accessible to viewers. That created a flywheel. I mean, when you said streaming 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you would have only thought Netflix pretty much at that point, right? As things went on, they eventually started to backwards integrate, which is the business term, into studio production. The first example of this was House of Cards. They made their own TV show, and they kept all of their own things internal. They would not license their content to anyone else, but they would continue licensing content from other people to build out their catalog. Of course, the thing that we know that happens over time with anything like this is that you end up with way more content than you know what to choose. If you ever walked into Blockbuster back when there were Blockbusters, you often either knew what you wanted already because it was something new or you had it on your mind when you walked in, or you had to ask for help from the people at the front, right? The version of that on Netflix for a while was personal curation, but very quickly was the solution that every online platform has to the abundance problem, which is algorithms. So they built out their algorithm and their user base, and their algorithm became the tastemakers for what would find success on Netflix. The Office was already popular, but it really became super mega popular after it went on Netflix. Friends was a similar phenomenon. And over again, Netflix found that their algorithm was turning franchises, other people's franchises, into hits. And so what happens after they blow up The Office and The Office leaves Netflix? Well, suddenly Netflix looks over at whoever has The Office, at this point, Peacock, and they say, God, why did we help them so much to get where they're at? Because now they're reaping the benefits of all the hard work that we did in making them a hit. And so it continues on. The lesson of this is that the only scarce thing online is attention. And that is why Netflix's CEO is so focused on YouTube, because YouTube is the unlimited version of that. Now, let me go back even further and compare it to Warner Brothers. 100 years ago, Warner Brothers started off as a theater owner. They literally owned theaters, and they would license movies from the studios, and they would play them in their theaters. Now, back then, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have algorithms. They had to have people like actually make decisions about these things. They had to have people, sweeping the aisles and things like that. And they found out that owning the theaters was actually a pretty hard business to be in. It wasn't very scalable. It was kind of one-to-one. With every theater, you added a certain amount of profit. Every theater, you added a certain amount of profit. The more profitable thing, the tech industry before the tech industry, was making movies and selling them to everybody over and over and over again. Because you would make it once, and you would sell it to everyone, including your own movie theaters. And so they backwards integrated into production because the theater business was hard. Eventually, theaters became TVs, became VHSs, became DVDs. And if you made one movie, you could sell it to every one of those mediums. And it was super profitable for Warner Brothers at the time. Sound familiar? The name of the game at that point was content production. You make it once and you sell it over and over and over again. For Netflix now, they're learning the same lesson basically, and they're learning it in a very interesting era because the internet era changes things. For you would think that someone like Warner Brothers then with HBO would be able to just beat Netflix because they had all the content. Well, what was the thing that they were missing? Users, attention, and a good algorithm.
So it kind of reversed a little bit.
It reverses the order, but the lessons are still the same. If you have distribution and you have the content, then you win the game. So, zooming out, YouTube.
Are we fast forwarding? Because you went
fast forward. I went 100 years back.
Okay,
actually. By the way, fun side note. The year that Warner Brothers bought their first theater, I think, was 1907. And I think the year that Netflix started doing distribution deals was in 2007. So exactly 100-year mark from each other. Just kind of weird.
That is weird.
So if the name of the game here is as much content as possible, and Netflix is willing to pay billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars, to buy a back catalog so that way they can shore up their content, who should they be most concerned about in the room? The person who also has an algorithm, also has attention, and who has more content than anybody could ever hope to create in their lifetime with a billion studios. YouTube.
A billion? My gosh. By the way, if you're like confused or your head spinning, a billion studios, it's a billion creators.
A billion creators.
A creator is all of it, right?
Not to say that we're at a billion creators yet, but there is a path to get there where there's a billion people on this planet creating content for YouTube. That'd be another good question to look up in terms of statistics. And so this is all to say, just to buttress the same point that you did, this is the long and convoluted version that says YouTube is bigger than ever before. And that means that the opportunity on YouTube is bigger than ever before. This is true in any business. If you're looking to find success, you want to look at the things that's fastest growing, the most exponential, and you want to chain your cart to that horse, because that is how you get pulled along. If they succeed, you succeed most of the time. And in this case, in my mind, that opportunity is YouTube. It gets even deeper, and this is the last thing I'll say, which is that I think that if you had to guess about who the last two people would be in this room, it would be Netflix and YouTube. I think Netflix has a long future in front of it. I think YouTube has a long future in front of it. They kind of have carved out different niches for themselves, right? And I think that having people pay for content...
Netflix didn't have the baggage of all the studios and the networks that had built these systems. You see this in business. You know how like they talk about the S&P like 50 years ago, and there's only like not even 5% of those companies still alive today.
I know.
A part of that is because you build a business so big and it can't kind of evolve or maneuver or be nimble to the crashes or the new technology or whatever. You're already, renting out all these machines that now have no relevance, and this other smaller company who has none of those old crappy machines is using the new technology where they don't need a machine. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
So Netflix in this battle is like the young kid, but there's a younger kid.
Which is
and it's
YouTube.
weird because he's like the old kid in the new cool kids club. And that's why, like, I in a way, I kind of agree with you. Like, that's just going to go, because my question always is, why doesn't YouTube buy out some of these libraries?
Because they don't have to. That's literally it.
And that's what's so crazy, that they do not have to. That they don't even have. They already have endless ingredients being given to them to sell food to people that people pay, and then people that gave them the ingredients make money. But they don't have to gobble up all these other franchises, literally, like the way the Netflix or all these other like studios are doing. And that is wild to me. But then
$72 billion to do what YouTube gets for free every single day.
Oh my gosh! So how much does it cost to do what Netflix does?
Well, I don't know what the kind of run value of that is, but the thing that I was going for there was that if Netflix and YouTube are the last two standing, it's still good news for creators. It's still good news for creators if Netflix is YouTube's biggest competitor, and here's why. We are seeing more and more every single day that people start on YouTube, very small, scale their way up, and sell their shows to Netflix.
That's funny.
So
That's funny. You make money on YouTube, and then you sell your library, which I have seen. Blippi did that.
Miss Rachel does that.
Miss Rachel did that. We're talking about kids shows because I'm a dad of 5 daughters. But there's a lot of
Mark Rober has done that. You could go. Dude Perfect is in talks for doing.
So they're like they're like the new Warner Brothers.
Literally.
In 1907 or whatever.
So it is, and again, whatever other people say about Netflix, we have an opportunity. Benji, you're right. You're like, why do creators care about this? And to some degree, maybe people won't click on this and it'll be what it is. But I think creators should pay attention because it shows you that now is the time to get started on YouTube as YouTube grows faster and is bigger than ever before. It is literally, we've said this for a year plus now. It is the best time ever to start on YouTube. And this is one of the biggest reasons or biggest examples of why I can say that is true. And I think we began our year really beating the drum about YouTube on the TV. And we end our year now seeing this and can say YouTube is one of the two juggernauts. They're one of the only two juggernauts, and you have the opportunity to be posting to one of those juggernauts, and which means that you have an opportunity to be as big as anybody else in the world.
The reason creators don't care, and you don't have to care, is because what makes YouTube great is you as a creator create amazing content that people want to watch, and this platform makes it so it's easy for people to consume your videos and you get paid for it. And that's what makes YouTube number one. The reason it's good to kind of pay attention and to understand this and be aware of it is because the former, though, gets even more valuable.
Yes.
I know this because AdSense goes up. It's like, you know what's crazy? AdSense, just for example, by the way, if you don't know this, as a creator on YouTube, I upload videos, an ad gets played, and through their AdSense machine, I get a paycheck every single day. We used to get paychecks in the mail, by the way.
I remember that, actually.
Yeah, you get, that was a pretty cool.
Mailbox money.
And then it was like wired to your account. And I think that's how most people get paid, though you can have the option to get a check mail too, I think. So there's always seasons. There's certain months of the year. Obviously, the fourth quarter, Black Friday, holiday sales, Christmas, you get paid more because the ads are worth more, okay? One thing I have observed, steady Freddy, throughout all the years, every holiday season, that AdSense value starts ticking up. Now, it can be different for different genres or whatever, but it's always gotten a little better. Like this year, my AdSense is kind of wild to me.
Really?
Now, to be fair, guess what? I'm doing longer videos, so more ads are playing, but I notice the ads are just getting more valuable because what happened? Oh, wait, this is a great way to top off this show.
Yes.
What happened? All those advertisers that used to be on TV that paid ungodly amounts for those commercials, they're like, YouTube's actually way better. It's more targeted.
Yeah,
it's
literally.
cheaper. And then as that was like being found out, more people come in. And so there's competition. So what happened is, as a creator, you're creating the same kind of video, but guess what? The ad spot gets more valuable. You don't have to do anything. You literally don't even have to think about this. It's just happening automatically. So someone like my wife, who doesn't want to be an entrepreneur, that could care less about this topic. She's like bored to death right now. She's listening. Okay, she's just doing this to support me. But guess what? The thing that she's always been good at, which is creating content that people keep wanting to watch, because more valuable, because YouTube is more valuable, and they're playing in an arena that just never was a thing. Like Netflix and all these people, just, it's like wild. It's I'm trying to think. There's definitely examples of this. You know, there's like, they call them the good old boys, or like, you know, the cool kids club. Just like, you know, we're part of this crew, and, you know, no one gets in. And you just see this like almost loser. You just call them a loser. They're not a loser, but they're like a loser on the outside. They're just begging for money on the side of the street. And then out of nowhere, they're not just in the cool kids club. They're kind of like running it.
Yeah.
And now you're like, dang, like this came out of nowhere. It didn't. It just got bigger because of technology.
Yes.
This is like, again, going back to my whole philosophy and why I believe vlogging is coming back and just longer videos are going to be important. The technology just evolved to literally, without any kind of really foresight or planning, to be perfect for YouTube to dominate in the TV era. Period. Set aside everything we just talked about. YouTube is dominating the TV era, and it's only going to get more significant, I believe, including with movies and full-on shows, like with series and full productions. But even the vlogger out there who's doing like home videos that looks like Talking Head style in 2008, they will just continue seeing more success. A good example of this is just people doing podcasts out of their living room and becoming like the new celebrities.
Or doing vlogs every single day, which is one of the reasons why we created Vlogging Academy, because we truly believe, if you don't get it yet, that we think it is the best time ever to get started on YouTube. Not just because it's the biggest opportunity, but because it's easier than ever to get started on YouTube, especially if you use Benji's 3T method at Vlogging Academy. You know, one of the lessons of this Netflix deal is that a back catalog is super valuable because the algorithm is super powerful, right? So if you go along with that, you can say, hey, how do I capitalize on YouTube's algorithm to give us a back catalog here, right? How do I, as a vlogger, make my back catalog viewable and monetizable? Well, Benji has solved that problem by centering your vlogs around a topic and takeaway, and telling stories that are evergreen that illuminate that topic and takeaway every single video that you create. You can learn more about that by checking out vloggingacademy.com. He also talks about it in his free masterclass there at, again, vloggingacademy.com. And our thanks to the students of Vlogging Academy who make this show possible. A little bit of real-time follow-up here from Carla, who gave us some information from Gemini, who says that there are 207 million individuals globally who identify as content creators. YouTube creators, over 64 million content creators. And that means that we're well on our way to 1 billion. So we got time for a little bit more, or should we wrap it up
I mean,
here?
we'll find. There's a quick question from the chat area. So, by the way, if you're listening to this on the replay, leave a comment on what kind of topics you want us to cover. What was your aha moment? But Doc Rock talks about how vlogs will be coming to Netflix in 2 years, in less than 2 years.
Wow.
And in that moment, I was like, how would that work? But I actually believe it could. Why not? And also, that'd be great for vloggers.
Well, I mean, we've seen podcasts already make that transition, right? Netflix buying, this is the kind of the precursor to the Warner Brothers thing. On the lower end of the ticket is the podcast side of things, and they're buying licenses to Spotify's podcast. And you can see that. You could imagine that for vlogs as well.
Yeah. So, And so, by the way, we don't call this the YouTube Secrets podcast for a reason. No shade to the book, YouTube Secrets, which you should buy if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel. We call this the creator secrets, because what is important, even if you don't think of yourself as a creator or you don't like that term, if you're creating content that is going to be consumed on one of these digital platforms, including the TV, which is weird, it's a digital platform now, then being a creator is what's important.
Yes.
No matter what type that is. And that's why this show is dedicated to you guys. John Cortese, who came on earlier, he's on short form, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. If you're like a podcaster that's creating content, that's why we call this the Creator Secrets Podcast. Because I believe that creators are the future, it's weird to say, of everything. Because when we think about how we spend our day, I told you, I started this whole show off with saying, like, I don't want to consume, because it's so easy to pick up that phone, open up YouTube, turn on the TV, click on YouTube, and just consume away, because the algorithms are so smart and we love it, right? Well, if you want to be on the other side of it, you have to be a creator, period. There's no other option to it, where either you're one-man band, you got a huge team, or a huge corporation, which, by the way, CEOs of corporations, I met them now, are becoming creators because they realize how not only important, valuable, but also the ROI of it is there. And so if they're doing it and they're hiring me to be their consultant to like make it happen, and there's creators out there that are just like living in the basement of their parents' house and becoming a celebrity, everyone has to consider this. I think even if you're not like, even if you're in denial of it, you secretly know, like, I need to do this. So yeah, that's what I would say. And to Doc Rock's point, it doesn't matter the platform, because if you're a creator, I do believe this. I thought it was going to happen earlier, that YouTube wouldn't be relevant. I think it's still got legs for 5 or 10 more years. But whatever other platform, guess what? If I can create content that people are willing to watch on YouTube, I can do it on other platforms. In fact, creators have done that. They went from YouTube to Instagram, YouTube to TikTok. And guess what? They're all flocking back to YouTube for a reason, and no matter other things. So being a creator is what's important. And the opportunities will be there for you, because you're doing the thing that's really hardest for businesses to do, which is captures people's attention.
And one of the things we do on the Creator Secrets podcast is go into our own creation process, our own channels, our own analytics as a part of a segment we call the Film Room. And today I wanted to talk about our live broadcasting setup, because one of the things that you've done more and more over the years is go live on YouTube, Benji. We know that it's a big time for live on YouTube, as they kind of also push to compete with platforms like Twitch, and as they, more and more add tons of really interesting features like multi-stream and ad insertions and more to YouTube Live. And so I wanted, we've got Neutrally in the studio, as I mentioned before, and Benji's talked about how we just streamed before this. I just wanted you guys to chat about the the kind of live stream setup that you did, because we just got done right before this show doing a cooking live stream for your other channel, Benji.
Oh yeah, so I'll take it from the content side. So I have a channel called Benji Man TV. I used to do cooking recipes. Now I do more food vlogs. That includes me shopping at Costco, grocery stores, as well as cooking in the kitchen, but more of a vlog format. I've always liked doing live streams, so I want to do more live streams. So today, I went live and showed people me making yakisoba. I feel like yakisoba was like my default easy one, right, to live stream for, because we've done it actually multiple times. And so that's on the creative side. I'll let Neutrally explain what was unique about today's live stream.
Yeah, Neutrally, tell us.
The thing that was really unique with today's live stream is that we stripped our whole setup completely. We ditched.
I thought you were gonna say we strip, but no. Yes,
It was not that kind of live streaming.
We ditched our old setup. Our old setup was about like 15 grand. We had A7S threes, aperture dome lights, and all just beefy computers and so many different switchers.
Pro. We would have said it was pro.
It was pro.
But it also took a professional to set it up too.
Setup and teardown took at least 2 hours, not accounting for the actual live stream. So honestly, from setting up to tear down when I'm done, it's about a 6 hour just for like a maybe 2.5 hour live stream.
That's crazy.
Today, Benji, with the help of Doc Rock, shout
Thanks,
out Doc
Doc.
Rock, Ecamm, we were using Ecamm with the DJI Osmo. And today what we learned is the Osmo acts as like a PTZ camera. Once you just connect the cameras to Ecamm, it automatically shows all the controls so easy, and you can literally set and make presets and recall those presets to go back to those angles.
Yeah, so you can go and basically, if you don't know what a PTZ camera is, it's basically because the Osmo has a gimbal on it, right? And usually that gimbal, when you're vlogging, is used for kind of stabilization. You can see the head of the camera move around a little bit.
Crazy.
If it's sitting stationary, actually, if it's not sitting stationary too, but you can imagine it sitting stationary and neutrally through the computer being able to pan and tilt and zoom and kind of go around and kind of like change framings and, like you said, set presets so that we can create different angles throughout the stream, which A, cut down on the number of cameras that we needed, B, cut down on the personnel, and C, the thing that the simpler thing that you haven't even mentioned yet is that you've set up these tiny little Osmos instead of these giant hulking auto poles and,
Oh my
and
gosh.
Sony
She
cameras.
What a
Stands
nightmare.
everywhere.
Now I'm
Yeah.
like, it's cringe that we even tried that. You didn't even finish though. What else wasn't
Yes.
part of the production today that we used to do back in the day?
What, the setup and teardown?
Yo, I'm just like, there was no professional lighting.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
was
yeah.
a ring
There was a
light.
ring light,
That's
but it
right.
was
Okay, we use one professional ring light as a fill light because, graduated from production.
I even
school.
said like, we might not even need that. I was saying
We
that.
needed the fill light just so the shadows and everything look correct. But yes, to Benji's point, we just use his kitchen lighting and they're really warm. Like they were really warm in the studio. We like cool setting and everything.
And then what do we used to use for audio that we didn't
my
use? And what
gosh.
did we use today?
So we used to use the Sennheiser microphones, Sennheiser lapel mics. They're the best of the business, but they're really expensive and pricey. Today we use the DJI Osmo
And
wireless mics.
I charged them.
Yeah.
That was Neutrally's job to charge everything. So it almost sounds like his job's like
Cut in half.
Like
Literally
cut in half.
cut in half.
It's not making his job obsolete. What's more important is he could focus on the production side and pay attention to the stream versus like it was a miracle that he did all that stuff before and it had its like challenges, but now he can fully focus on the YouTube side, which is the most important side.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what else? Like Roland.
Yeah, we had we used the Roland VR4 HD, and then we had wireless HDMI transmitter and receivers. We had so many of those LP batteries, brick just
Before.
charging.
And what do
Yeah.
we do today?
Today, Benji charged 2 Pocket 3s. He had a little battery grip for both of them, those extra. And then we ran them the whole time. Granted, I think the cameras do charge in webcam mode maybe, but they didn't give us
All ran by what machine?
Austin's MacBook Pro, the one you see right there.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm curious where you're going with this. It was just showing too how simple you can just go live and have a very pro look. See, when we first started building my live stream setup, because we started kind of pro, right?
Yeah.
Like DSLR, one
kind of the only way
light.
back
I was
in
gonna
the
say
day.
that
By
was
the-
the only way to do it back
Yeah,
then.
it was a ring light, and then we had to use this and that, whatever. It just built over time, like this $15,000 to $18,000 setup. That literally was. It took so much work. By the time we were going live, I was already tired. This is why you
mentally
have big
drained.
teams doing this stuff, okay? But now, I'm telling you, I feel like
Bro, you went upstairs, Austin came down, and we were good to go.
Yeah, literally.
That-
and
that
they
was
didn't
it.
tell me there was even some challenges making this up because it was the first time we used eCam, by the way.
Yeah.
And awesome ones. I never thought we could. And this happened to have a second one because my first one's kind of broke down. But you would have never
still was
known
working.
watching them, right? So I think that's, by the way, this is a whole nother thing. I believe right now long form content is dominating in terms of the opportunity, both for YouTube as well as creators. But I think the thing that's beyond that is live streaming. In real life, streamers are a big thing. Kai Sennett, iShowSpeed, so many other people that I recognize, and you probably recognize too. You just don't know what they do. They're live streamers, like really long form.
Yeah.
So 3, 6, maybe like 8+ hour kind of content marathons. So if you know how to show up live, that's even a more like valuable skill. That's why I'm practicing it. Also, it's an easy way if you have that set up to just connect with your audience and do your thing and take advantage of it. Because I think the thing is this, I think we can level up our production a little bit.
Totally.
But once we get going, I imagine, maybe not just me and maybe other people, but I hope it is me, that you'll turn on your TV
Yeah.
and you will watch my live stream like you watch any Food Network show back 20 years ago, especially if you're on at a regular time and you're consistent. And in a way, it's even better because you can talk to the creator.
Yes.
You feel more connected, which
Yeah.
is the beauty of YouTube. Fast forward 20 years, and now we're like celebrities on the TV.
Literally. Yeah, I mean, one of the big themes on Creator Secrets, one of the things we truly believe is to simplify. And one of the ways that you do that is by simplifying your setups. This felt right in a lot of ways, more so than any other cooking stream that I've seen you guys do before, even in this studio where we have the gear already present, because it was simple. And it fit everything that we preach, basically, when it comes to Vlogging Academy. And a piece of that is the fact that we're using the gear that you're already using for vlogging. I mean, it's another, being in the jar for the Osmo. I mean, that's incredible. It's another being in the jar for the MacBook as a powerful creative tool. And in this case, it's a huge win for Ecamm, right? Ecamm did a great job. And so, simplifying our tools down and making them more plug and play and making them more accessible, reducing the barriers to creation is the number one way that you're going to do the thing that you need to do most, which is create more to find success on YouTube. And so in doing that, in finding this setup, to me, I'm just excited because it's an opportunity for us to go forward and do that more than ever.
Full circle back to the first thing where you congratulated me about Taekwondo and my 3rd degree black belt. I'm not trying to flex here. I'm just saying I became a 3rd degree black belt because I didn't overcomplicate it. I just jumped in and I just started kicking and punching, and it just kept doing that for long enough. If you want to take advantage of everything we just talked about, even things that you don't really understand, you want to become a John Cortese or my wife Judy or me or us, what we're doing, do whatever you can with whatever you have, including your phone, and start creating content. Get better being on camera, get comfortable talking about the things you're obsessed about, like to a digital audience. And you do that over and over and over. Like me, I don't know anything but volume, right? Like I always tell Austin, you're smarter than me. Whatever you think we should do, let's just do it. Okay, now I'm not trying to discount what I know about vlogging, but I'm saying like in this new era, whether it's YouTube's super long format, this new podcast show, live streaming, I'm like, whatever we do, we're going to just do it over and over and over. I know that's why Nucci's excited, because he's like, okay, I see old Benji here. We're about to do the white belt thing, which is funny. You have to be a white belt before you become a black belt, right? Like, there is no skipping. I've never heard of anybody skipping. It just doesn't happen in Taekwondo. And that's the same with YouTube. You have to go through that. I actually saw a video of Mr. B saying, it's like, everyone's going to just think it's so dumb when you're first starting it. You're wasting your time. You're over obsessed. And then once you're successful, they're like, wow, man, this is so awesome. Like, it's like so inspiring, and I want to learn from you. And that's just, be the white belt and be comfortable with that. And that's why if you overcomplicate it, or you wait for it, or you're just like, you need to know everything before you start it, you will be shooting yourself in the foot and you'll never get there. If you're okay just doing the basics, it's funny. Like, this is not good representation, but if you're on camera right now, do this. It looks cooler than that, right? But I'm just saying, like, single punch. And it's funny, at my belt test, at my 3rd degree, I did like a legit single punch. We did that during the test.
Yeah.
And it's just funny, like, it's so instinctual. I did not practice that, but I had done it so much that was just so natural to me. I was surprised when he asked me to do that. I was like, wow, it's just like a basic thing. But if he's a 5th degree black belt, there's like there's a certain logic to that, because everything else you do is based off of that. So if you do that well, right, it kind of shows a lot about your foundation. So as a creator, and we just talked about the live stream being simplified, we talk about vlogging being easier. And now, because YouTube's so awesome, the algorithm makes your job easier. There's never been a better time.
With that, there's nothing more that I can say. Our thanks to Ecamm this week for helping us create a setup. A special thanks to Doc Rock for really making it easy for us to do that. As well as Corteezy for joining us on the show. So we will go ahead and see you all next week.